Hey guys, welcome back to the Leading Edge Cricket Podcast. Today we are celebrating finally an English victory. All the rough times that's gone before us in India, all the rough times in the first test, which was 50-50 in a push. The second test where we got absolutely rolled. England have fought back just like we hoped they would. I am Rob, this is Rich. Let's break it down, Rich. Welcome to the podcast.
How's it going, Rob? What a win for England.
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling sharp, actually. I feel
glad you are.
Invigorated about this English team. We'd spoken so many times about the selection and the need for change. Change has worked, and for the first time since 2013, the top four of the English team has scored above 30 in an innings. There's your first fact of the day, dropping it like it's hot.
I feel like there's going to be a lot of those today. I think Stato Rob is coming, isn't he? Coming off his long run-up. It was fantastic. We spoke about the need for England to come back. You spoke about changes. That's made a huge impact in this side. It's also the break. If this was a back-to-back test we spoke about, we thought India would just keep rolling, didn't we?
Yep.
But the fact that England had a chance to have a week off, regroup, get thinking, see where they were, and come back with a much, much more sensible head. And that's exactly what they did. And they got underway straight away. So result-wise, an innings and 76 runs victory for England over India. A day and 2 sessions to spare. Yeah. That is impressive.
Beautiful. It's a beautiful thing, mate. But don't you think it's one of the great things about having 5 test match billing? And given the fact that the team's played in India already earlier this year, it creates that intensity and rivalry for a longer period of time rather than a 2 throwaway test match series. 5 test match series. Batsmen can get on top of bowlers. Batsmen can fight back from adversity. And we're seeing this England team fight back. And rather than going, oh, England did well and it's 1-1, we go, I can't wait for 2 more test matches.
Yeah, we're lucky boys. We're a lucky country. To have India for a 5-match test series is sensational. It really is. Just thinking about it, as you're saying that, if this was a normal 3-test series, they do 4 tests sometimes, which is bizarre. But a 3-match test series, we're done. It's built up and then suddenly done. Pretty disappointing.
Yeah.
You know, it's like when you want to sneeze and you just can't. You know, it's one of those moments, isn't it? So it's so good now that it's building up. India have come swinging. You know, it was a pretty steady start. India came swinging and absolutely knocked England to the canvas, didn't they? But we've come back. We've got up and gone straight back at them. It's absolutely fantastic. And it sets it up perfectly for the 4th test, which starts on Thursday at the Oval.
It does.
We've got the Oval, haven't we? And then a back-to-back test. You know, following that, we're straight on to the old Trafford on the following Friday. So it is absolutely set up. An emphatic win. I just want to say as well, after the second test, we had so many great interactions.
Yes.
From a lot of Indian cricket fans, which was great. Obviously, they were happy they won, but it were really positive interactions with how we discussed the game. There was a few strange ones, and just to those few strange ones. Come on, England. What a win. What a win.
We're coming back.
Yeah, somehow, even though we were praising India all day and all night in the last pod, well, pod when we was reviewing the last test, we still got people saying we were a little bit sycophantic towards the English cricket team. I don't know how that could have been perceived, to be honest with you. So absolutely, to 1 or 2 of those. So
it's coming back. It's coming back.
Yeah.
It's good to see England come back. And I think it's something that's been missing from this England team is a little bit of backbone sometimes with that batting lineup. And to come back from India being rolled is a fantastic feat. But this Indian team is very resolute. Remember what they did in India with India B team got rolled for 36-38 in that first test. Tim Payne will see at the Gabba. India go win the series, led bowling attack by Siraj in his kind of come out moment and come out series. So very resolute team. Potentially changes come in, but let's break down the 3rd test. A good one for England and a pretty poor one, starting with the opening toss. Rich, do you think?
Yes, I don't think it was quite Nasser Hussain at the Gabba.
No,
but it was. I mean, it's one of those tests, though, isn't it, in England, where you know the conditions are going to be tricky on the first morning. Yeah. But as long as you're pretty resolute, you've got a good technique, and you're not going after the swinging ball too much, you should be able to get through to lunch, maybe a couple down, and then it gets easier and easier and easier. And India didn't do that. So the toss was a great one to lose. I think there was talk that Root may have battered.
Yeah, it's worked out quite well for him, actually.
So we can't criticise Kohli too much on heads or tails there. But it got India into bat. It got them in early. And it was the 5th ball of the innings, wasn't it? That's when it starts. And this is why it's so important to have opening partnerships that stick around. And England have known for I don't even know how many years now. Yeah, I've lost the count of years that we've had poor opening partnerships.
Yeah.
If you lose a wicket early, 4 balls for Rahul, obviously 5th ball of the innings, he's gone. He's nicking off to Butler. We then had a procession, didn't we? Pujara went, nicked behind for 1. Kohli, that was the big wicket, 7. He goes for 7, all into Butler's gloves. It's just the worst possible start. I don't know how you recover an innings when you've lost 3 wickets for, 21 runs inside probably the first half an hour or so.
Yeah, and I think that played into India's approach. I'm quite critical mentally watching it, and then you saw how England played the game with their opening, and to me, it just felt like the shot was completely shut, and it was locked down, and it was going to be shut for months. But there was no. There's a way of being positive in Test match cricket without having to run down the wicket, Rishabh Pant, and try and negate spin and smack it over the top. You can be positive in a lot of ways. And I thought, we'll talk about the England batting lineup, but I thought Hamid and Burns set the tone beautifully for England by the fact that they rotated the strike better than I've seen England do in years at the top of the order. It felt like it gives you a sense of control, and you're going at 2, 3, you're rotating left hand, right hand. Bowlers can't settle in. I thought England did that really well, and I felt India they got stuck on the ropes, man. They were stuck on the ropes, and they weren't quite sure of how to evade what was coming at them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they had a recovery after being 3 down, didn't they? Rahane came in and joined Sharma. Rahane can be resolute. Yeah, vice captain. Obviously, he's played some sensational innings, and I don't mean swashbuckling sensational. I just mean the fact that he's hung around and he's batted time and he's played well. But getting out just before lunch was pretty criminal.
Yeah.
Wasn't it really? Another flirt, Butler gets his 4th catch. And then straight away, almost after lunch, Pant's gone. Pant's had a horrific Test match, really, hasn't he? Just the way he's playing. It's great to see that, he has the backing that he can go and play positively. But at some points, you kind of have to just say, maybe I'm going to play in a slightly different way. And in both innings, we saw him shuffling down the track after his 1st or 2nd ball to do something. And we love the guy. We love him as a player, but you've got to pick your moments, man.
I don't think he's quite switched on right at the moment. He's not.
No.
You remember when Ollie Pope was playing in India, and we looked at him and we said, we're not quite sure he knows what his best game plan is to score runs in that condition. Rishabh Pant scored a shed load in Australia and worked out how to bat really well. He's not quite got there in English conditions, and you can see him moving down the track because he doesn't play like that on all the different wickets around the world. He's trying to negate the swing. We saw Shubman Gill doing it against New Zealand in the World Test Championship until Jameson bumped him out. He's trying, but what he's doing isn't fundamentally working, and he's finding himself in an absolute abysmal run of form. Ollie Robinson has got him so far in his back pocket. He's a tall man. He can barely reach down to get it because his back pocket's going down near the back of his knee at the moment. He's got him 4 times for 42 runs, an average of 10. It's just not working. You're seeing him nicking off. You're seeing him caught in short. He doesn't know or hasn't worked out yet. And that's the thing. Yet. There's 2 Test matches left. It's the beauty of 5 Test match series. How to play in English conditions. Now, he might get better conditions in the next test and go and score 100, and that's great for him because he's working it out. But you can guarantee it's not going to be running down the track every 2 balls is the way to survive fully in English conditions against a Red Bull.
No, absolutely. I mean, and that's the thing, isn't it? 56 for 4 at lunch. Pant comes out. He's got an opportunity to just get himself in. Sharma's hanging around. Sharma's doing an absolutely brilliant job. I mean, he ended up 19 before his dismissal off 105 deliveries, 172 minutes at the crease, and he only found the rope once. That is a responsible knock. It's not exactly the knock you want to pay your money to go and watch, but it was absolutely the right job for India at that time. He just needed somebody to come in and stay with him. Rahane started doing that, but obviously just getting out before lunch. It's the worst possible thing as a team, isn't it? Because it gets the tails back up for England. That morning session, Jimmy Anderson, his 3 wickets for 6 runs off 8 overs was an absolutely sensational spell. Induckers, setting people up with the induckers and then nipping one away just enough. The skills of that guy, we can't say it enough. He just is. I mean, McGrath is probably the best seamer of all time, in my opinion, of what I've seen anyway.
Yeah.
But Jimmy's getting close to that conversation. The skills he has, they're slightly different bowlers, aren't they? But the skills he has and the execution of those skills on demand is just sensational.
Yeah, and not much change in what he's doing whenever he's doing it. And to be doing it at his age, And the stat was he was England's fastest bowler in this innings. That is
right?
Absolutely insane. I don't know if that's how it finished, but that's how it was at one certain point. And I was like, wow, that's pretty incredible that he's still able to do that. And that goes to show he was this 90-mile-an-hour speedster when he came on the scene, but he made his name bowling 84-mile-an-hour outswing and inswing.
Yeah. He
might have bowled 15 years of his career within himself just because he knows that's the perfect speed for him to bowl, to utilize maximum amount of swing. This is apparently swing, but he's an incredible talent. There's so much talk about him and Kohli, and I love it. I love it because people get riled by it. But the fact is, Jimmy Anderson's got him out as many times as anyone else has got Kohli out. He's got him out 7 times. Incredible record. Looking at him in England, he just seems to have the knack of him. 2018, he didn't get him out, but he got him out 4 times in 2014, twice in 2021. An average of 26.5 is about 25 points below his normal average. So it shows the quality. But I think the thing with Jimmy that goes under the radar is the amount of dot balls and pressure that he can build. And he did that against Rohit Sharma. Rohit Sharma, against anyone he's faced in 5 test matches, has never played as many dot balls as he had against Jimmy. 85% of the balls Jimmy bowls against him is a dot ball. No one else is even close to that. But you've got Jimmy doing that. But I thought Robinson and Overton backed him up beautifully by doing what English seamers do in those conditions and didn't bowl bad balls. They were constantly asking questions around the top of off stump, nipping it both ways. It was just a really well-rounded seam attack, given the conditions, given the time of day, given the decision by Kohli. England were fantastic.
Yeah, and it's really important to talk about that as well, isn't it? Actually, obviously, the big criticism for England from the second test was that their lack of discipline, their lack of sense, really, wasn't it? Where they got obsessed with a short ball, obsessed with roughing bowlers up. You know, they got into a scrap basically, didn't they? This game, it was about skillful bowling. If you said Jimmy was probably the quickest bowler in the first innings, it shows you this attack was not a quick attack. There was no Joff, there was no Mark Wood. It was Overton and Robinson. Similar bowlers, to be honest, which is one reason we quite liked to have seen Saki Mahmood. But when you look at the performance of Overton and Robinson, obviously Robinson, he would have played, but, you know, it was maybe a Curran versus Mahmood, for example. But it would have been nice to have had that slightly different play. Another bowler that bowls a bit more like Jimmy, a bit more fuller. But Robinson is just, you know, he had his issues at the start of the summer. But it's the old duck to water, isn't it? He was made for Test cricket.
Yeah.
He's tall, he's metronomical, you know, he's going to hit that spot 9 times out of 10, if not
quick enough.
Not 10 out of 10. Quick enough, yeah. And he's got a little bit of a niggle, and it does seem like he has maybe pulled it back a little bit.
Yeah.
The niggle.
And you know what? I don't think we give him credit for, because he's so young into his career. He's a very, very intelligent bowler. You remember what he said about Kane Williamson when they were playing against New Zealand? He goes, you know what? I'm going to take it away from him, then going to pull one back into the pads. He did it. And time again, I'm so impressed that some of the wickets that he goes and pick up are guys that have been in 50 balls. Rahane had been in 54 balls, and then he gets him to flirt outside the off stump. It's someone that's always there or thereabouts, challenging, can take it in, can take it away. I'm saying away by doing in and saying in by doing away, but the fact is, I'm not a very good bowler. He is.
yeah, he's a skillful guy, and it's another 5-wicket haul for him as well, wasn't it? And he ended up with the man of the match for this game as well. Yeah. So it just shows the contribution. So at that point, when Pant goes, that's 58 for 5. That's 5 catches for Josh Buttler. Yeah. 3 for Anderson, 2 for Robinson. You're thinking those boys are going to go through it, but that's not what happened in the end, wasn't it? That was the end of Robinson and Anderson.
Yeah,
It was the other boys, and Overton's come in, and he needed to do something, didn't he? He got Sharma after all the hard work Sharma did. It was one of the strangest ones. He's trying to pull from way outside off stump, and he just dollies one up to mid on, doesn't he? To Robinson.
Wouldn't you say that's just pressure? That's just a build up of pressure. That the release is he pulls well in all formats. And the release is that shot. It's just he's trying to do it. The ball's not quite there. The situation's not quite right, and it doesn't come off. Like, it's the build-up of dot balls that he's had to face, and he batted so well for. He looked as solidified as anyone else in the crease in that first innings.
Definitely, you can understand it. It's just frustrating, isn't it? I think that's the thing. You know, when you're being bogged down like that, you can understand a batsman making a false shot. You see first he picks up the length. Secondly, he picks up the line. It's got width. He's got plenty of room to get his arms around and get under it or whatever he wants to do. But he just didn't quite get hold of it, did it? It's too wide to pull. You know, we coach the kids. You can't, let's not pull from out there. Let's not. Unless it's a one-day game and you're going to pull it straight back over the bowler's head down the ground. Yeah. It's not the right shot. So he's made a mistake there, but it shouldn't be taken away that he did dig in and he really, really did try. So I think it's a credit where it's due for Sharma. But at 58 for 5, as we said, it was then, at this moment, it was the Overton show, wasn't it? It got Overton. And then it was the stars of the last test, the Shami-Bumrah partnership. Yeah. I think there's a stat somewhere where they faced 90-odd balls together in the second test, and then they combined 2 in this innings. Yeah. So Shami went first ball as well. Caught Burns, bowled Overton. So that was 2 and 2 for him. He was on a hat-trick, couldn't get it. And then Curran popped up, didn't he? He got himself 2 and 2 as well with Jadeja and Bumrah going first ball.
I know Jadeja's a great player. But I know it's just Bumrah. But were you impressed by those wickets from Curran? I know he was slightly expensive compared to anyone else and generally is, but it was now who did he get at LBW that just made Jadeja that just made me go, I see a bit here. I see a bit that I feel like I've been missing. And then he got Bumrah LBW and I'm like, I feel like these deliveries are Test match taking wickets, and I've not seen enough of them. But it felt like I was like, okay, I can see something now. I can see it, and I've been missing it with his bowling.
Yeah, he's a damn good cricketer.
Yes,
it's just we don't quite understand what he is yet. For the games he's played, really, he shouldn't be the 4th bowler. He's played enough tests now where he shouldn't be the 4th bowler of an attack, but he still is. So we're not quite sure what he is yet. But he does give us something different, and he's always going to run in. He does make things happen. He's not had quite the series he wanted yet. But, I thought there was a couple of good deliveries. I especially like the Bumrah. Really, the Jadeja one was the York, wasn't it? Yorker. Yeah. Really, really full ball that he sort of played around a little bit. Again, though, Jadeja, only 4 off 29 deliveries. Yeah. Again, he's another one of those players, a bit like Sharma, that wants to get moving. I'm not saying he wants to go to 100 strike rate, but he wants to keep the clock, keep the ball ticking over and whatnot. And he wasn't allowed to do that. Bumrah's gone first ball as well. That's the end of the Bumrah and Shami show for this innings. And what was it? I'm just going to look. 90 off 134 deliveries on the final day for Shami and Bumrah. 0 off 2 balls today. It's a strange game, Rob.
It is.
and just to wrap it up as well, Overton got back in. Siraj, 10 balls he lasted. He had a little bit of a swish. And then Ruti caught a real sharp one, didn't he? 40.4 overs was the innings, 78 all out. 3rd lowest score in England, I believe, for India since 1952.
That's it, mate. Winning the toss and batting first, it was the 2nd or 3rd lowest score of all time. It's quite incredible. You look at the list of first inning scores below 100 in the last 10 years. India, 78, 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth worst of all time. So it's quite a feat to be able to do that. And the only team that scored below 100 in the first innings and not lost was the West Indies in 2016 because it rained for 4.5 days. There you go. So you see the win probability starting to pop up on TV now. Yeah, I'm sure at that point it's like 98% England. They've backed themselves into a horrible corner to be able to put themselves into. But one thing that's we see on social media about India is people are a little bit unhappy with this batting lineup at times. They don't feel they're getting the bang for the buck and the consistency and the big level of runs that you generally do see with an Indian lineup. And that goes to show, like, over the last 4 years, England have been bowled out for less than 105 times. That's the worst in Test cricket. But India, 2 of them.
Yeah, it's always difficult, though, isn't it? Because after a good result, obviously everyone's up, and it does kind of paper over a few cracks, doesn't it? We spoke about it previously. We're not saying, the king is dead, but, Kohli is struggling. Rahane isn't consistent enough at the minute. Pujara, although, as we'll get to in the second innings, he did get a good score, he hasn't been consistent enough. So there are question marks, isn't there? So it's right to kind of question that consistency. And you would expect, if you're an Indian cricket supporter, you would have expected a heck of a lot better. Even if you're not really an Indian cricket supporter, you would have still expected better.
Yeah. Given how England were, especially, like they were so down, man.
Exactly. And that's it, isn't it? And it's to go out, and I don't know if early on they wanted to be quite positive. Yeah. But a positive mentality in this first innings, as soon as you saw that ball moving around, and maybe 1 or 2 wickets do slip through the net before you realise, but a positive mindset would then have been to make sure that England have to bowl at you and you're not going to go after it and you're not going to get yourself out. Yeah. England bowled fantastically well. Yeah. But if you're fiddling around outside off stump and you don't quite know where you are and what you're trying to do out there, you're going to nick off eventually, aren't you? And it's nice as well. Let's just give some credit as well. I'm not blaming Dom Sibley for everything. It's his fault for Brexit as well. But we have dropped catches in the slip cordon of late. We're one of the worst catching slip cordons in world cricket. Yeah. I don't remember one going down in this test match. I might be wrong. Brilliantly. We really did, including that. We did. Okay. There was even that Johnny Bairstow absolute blinder, wasn't there? Yes. You know, when an international player has taken a catch that he just didn't expect, was when he goes full giddy. And he went full giddy mode, didn't he? That was fantastic. But anyway, that's aside. Yeah, big questions for India. I don't know what they're going to do with this batting lineup. And it's one of those where you don't want it to swing too far, do you? You don't want to overcorrect. You know, they had one test where they played fantastically well. They've had a test now where they haven't played particularly well. So I imagine something will need to change, freshen things up a little bit, but let's hope it's not too drastic. Because there's players there that still deserve the opportunities. Rahane has done really well, but he always seems to be under the microscope. Pujara's done well. Rahul perhaps in this. We will see. Every if you have one bad test match, a couple of bad innings, you're the next one in the spotlight, aren't you? So it's such a tricky one. Yeah, the fact that England came out and finished the session 21 for none. Hamid 15, Burns 3 at tea. Yeah. Sharma not convincing with the new ball as well.
Oh, that was an awful decision.
It's quite baffling, isn't it? But it compounded the batting issues and errors, let's say, the poor start of the game for India. It then compounded it by the fact that England were 21 for none and looking completely at ease. Yeah. And India already making a bit of a mistake with who they'd used, let's say. So you've got Siraj, who's got the aggression. You've got Shami that can swing the ball around corners in England. Why go for Ishan? I know he's there, 300 odd test wickets over a very, very long and productive career, but why on earth choose him? He didn't look particularly impressive in the first game. The second game.
He looked awful, mate. It genuinely looked, you see a batsman that looks really at nicking, you go, that's pretty poor. He was horrendous. And that's not being horrible. He bowled rubbish. And the fact that you've got Mohammad Shami, who's your best bowler in these conditions, just sat there looking at this new ball getting smacked around as he bowls halfway down and outside off stump is a mess. Mohammad Siraj took the new ball in Australia and got the most wickets for India. He sat there getting the fourth use of this cherry. So it was a very, very poor decision, and it set the tone, mate. It completely set the tone, because any pressure they had against Hasib Hamid, who didn't get a score any runs in the last test, was completely gone when you just go, here, just knock a few balls around, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to speak about Hasib Hamid as well, we spoke about this before, didn't we? Obviously, Dom Sibley, I've already mentioned his name now, but Dom Sibley being dropped for this game, Hamid coming in, opening the batting, that is where he bats. That is where he's always batted. He is not a number 3. There is an absolute difference between batting at 3 and batting 1 or 2. Yeah, it just is. Now, if you're not used to sitting around waiting for the first wicket to fall, it's a difficult position to be in. If you're an opener, you need to get out there when everyone else runs onto the field, don't you? So it made such a difference. He looked so much more confident. I believe he was away between the second and third test practicing on some concrete in Nottingham somewhere, I think with his dad, just slinging balls down him as quick as he can, just on concrete. The guy lives and breathes cricket. It is so good to see. I don't think I think we appreciate his story, but I don't think everybody does appreciate his story. The fact that he came in as such a prodigious young talent, scored runs in India, got a couple of 50s,
Yeah.
And then he absolutely went into the wasteland of cricket. I think he finished one season for Lancashire averaging 9 as an opening batsman. That was very, very recently an England opening batsman.
Yeah.
He has gone into the wilderness. The fact that he didn't fall out of the game and start, just quit the game or end up, not getting a county contract is remarkable. Knott's picked him up, obviously, as we know. Peter Moores, who was his coach at Lancashire, has helped put him back together again. Yeah. Got him off his off-stump guard, got him back to middle, the standard middle, proper guard, that is. None of this other nonsense. And the way he has come back and rehabilitated himself, he looks like he enjoys his cricket.
Yeah.
I thought he was a little bit within himself when I'm watching him around in the field and whatnot, not quite feeling it. But it's probably made such a difference to him to not have that other opener in the squad. That he is the opener. There's no one else over his shoulder. He's not over somebody else's shoulder. He is there. And he just looked like he had a freedom about him. And I just hope he goes from strength to strength. But just to wrap up this day as well, the first day, and then we can rattle through a bit more, can't we, on the remainder of the test match. But it's like you said earlier, they batted with such good energy, didn't they? The urgency, the drop and run. Hamid in particular, he was rotating the strike. Burns can score runs, and we spoke about this. But Burns, he's going to get bogged down when he's batting with Sibley because Sibley's going to pat 6 back on many occasions. The fact that Hamid was looking to rotate it was really, really impressive. So the close, 120 for none off 42 overs. Burns had got 52. Hamid had got his 60. It was just simply a great day for England, wasn't it? It couldn't have gone worse for India. We can talk about the rest of the test match, but this is the test match here. 78 all out, England 120 for none off 42 overs at close of play. How do you come back from this position?
What a day. I don't think, as an England cricket fan, there is no better day, or for any cricket fan, the best day. It's not when you end up 300 for 2 at the end of day one. It's when you've cleaned the opposition up and you end up 0 wickets down at stumps. That is the ultimate test cricket day for your team. India, by the end of this day, their bowling and fielding was just ragged. They just looked like they've had possibly the worst day of their career as a test match team. For years, this will be one of the worst. And I know they've been bowled out for 36, but the opening day of a test match, it was one of the worst performances I've seen from a very, very good Indian team. And likewise, I'm going to put it out there. I made very similar notes, I think, to yourself. I put Shami looked absolute class when he was bowling. Why the hell didn't he get the new ball? Ishant Sharma, wayward, ineffective. Siraj took the new ball in Australia, took 5 for in the 4th test match. Why isn't he involved? England, rotation of the strike, positive attitude, rotation again, and too many 4 balls. How many? Hamid, 12 boundaries in his 68, mate. That's way too many. But I did feel there was a connection. It feels like Love Island or something like that. There was a connection between Hamid and Burns, and those two on the same level. And it allowed Burns to get off strike. It felt like I was seeing the best version of Rory Burns at the crease that I'd seen in a long time. Yeah.
And I think this is why we were talking about, when we were saying about this opening partnership, a lot of people, were saying, get rid of these 2. Well, you can't get rid of both because there isn't 2 openers to come in yet. But also Burns can score runs. Yes, he averages similar to Sibley. Yes, he hasn't played particularly well. Yes, he seems to get more ducks than probably what Sibley got. But Burns can score runs. And I believe he can score runs over the winter as well in Australia. It's not about that at the moment, but that's just something to consider as well when we're looking forward as an England team. It was a cloudy day, wasn't it, second day? But it was a good place to bat still. Headingley is a good place to bat. It can level out, and that's what we spoke about in the first day. If you ride that wave of the new ball and get through it, you can cash in. And England did to a point, didn't they? It was a top 4 really that got all the runs. Burns 61. He was well. Shami clipped the top of off, didn't he, round the wicket? I thought that was a beaut. Really setting up
delivery.
Yeah, absolutely. So Burns really played well. 61. That was the first wicket down 135. Just got to say here as well, 2 of the last 600 opening partnerships for England, Hamid has been involved. So bearing in mind, obviously, last test there wasn't any. This one there was. So there's only been 400 partnerships between Hamid opening in India and putting on 100 or wherever it was. I think it was India, putting on 100, and then this one. So it just shows the problems we've had, doesn't it? So it was a Dawid Malan return at 3, which was really, really pleasing for us to see. We've spoke about that for a little bit. But Hamid didn't last long, did he? 68. He's bowled by Jadeja, real big turner. But we spoke about in the first day, in the evening session in particular, that how well he rotated, how well he got off strike. He put the bad ball away, but he was bogged down. He couldn't rotate. 8 off 65 balls in the morning session that saw 159 for 2. That was a bit frustrating for me, but I think if Hamid could have got through that period, then he goes again, doesn't he? But India bowled really, really well at him. They tightened things up a little bit. They didn't give him that freebie. He cut really well, I thought. Hamid. So they didn't offer him that one. So really well bowled for India, in the morning, getting Burns and Hamid, and then it was Malan and Root by the time we hit lunch.
What do you think of Malan back at number 3 for England? Breath of fresh air.
Really impressed. You hear a lot of the pundits talking, don't you? That he's tightened his technique up a little bit.
Yeah.
We were saying, wasn't we? He came into the Test side. He was already playing a little bit of white ball, but since then he has become Dawid Malan, number 1 Test T20 player in the world. Yeah. It's a different Dawid Malan. He's a different mentality, different person. He's faced these bowlers. He's played on the big stages. He's ready to come again. Not every Test player is a ready Test player when they first make the team. Sometimes you have to go away and come back. And I thought he played wonderfully. I mean, again, talking of getting out just as the session ends, he got out just on the stroke of tea, didn't he? Siraj caught behind. 139 partnership with Root. That is solid. It's not, you spoke about it in one of the last pods, Rob. It's not just the opening partnership that's been an absolute horror show for England. It's the number 3 spot. The fact that someone's come back in on new debut. On debut. Obviously wrong use of the word. Malan, but getting 70, that's 2 questions. Sibley's gone out. Crawley's gone out recently. They're not coming back for a while. That Hamid and Malan have done enough already to give them at least the rest of this series. From the fact that they've got these scores in this one single innings that England obviously had to play this game. I thought he played really well, and it helps that you've got Joe Root going to almost run a ball and allow both players being really, really positive.
Yeah, it was similar to Hamid on that the end of day one. We had an element of kind of watching England 2004, 2006 sort of era. Like there was such fluency around the play, dealing in so many boundaries, which I feel like I've not seen that many good shots consistently from an England team in a while. And I just felt like watching Dawid Malan it was beautiful. He was just pinging the ball through backward point. He was pinging the ball through the covers, putting away the rubbish that was bowled at him, but also not getting out like he used to. You know, when the bowler comes round the wicket to him, targets that off stump, he can be a little bit twitchy around there. And I thought he did. He looked like a Test match number 3. I don't know why. It reminded me a bit of Usman Khawaja about how he was going about his business. I don't know why that's just popped in my head, but I kind of felt like I was kind of seeing a little bit of something similar. Could be completely way off the mark, but a
nice swing of the bat.
He was just good. There is the element, and it does make a difference. You can't go from batting at 3 at county cricket on wet decks facing Tim Murtagh bowling 72 mile an hour to facing guys bowling 85 to 87 mile an hour and seaming it around. There's a big difference. And the fact that he's an established international cricketer coming into the team who has gone away and worked and got better and better, it's massive. It's not like having, to me, it's not like having a new player. It's just like having Malan come back in and he's been around the block and he's good enough and now he's better. It's a really strong position to be in. I don't look at him and go, we're inexperienced at 3 because the guy's come in for 1 test. I'm looking at this lineup now and going, you know what? If Bairstow gets the gloves and Butler goes and this happens and that happens and we've got a 3 sorted and we've got our openers sorted, all of a sudden I'm feeling confident about 1 to 6, which is incredible considering the Twitter feed post that I put about this being the worst England 1 to 7 since the year 2000.
Yeah, absolutely. And wasn't it? It was lovely as well to know that it was the top 4 of England, not just Joe Root, but the top 4 of England that scored the vast majority of the runs in this innings. And it wasn't relying on the middle order, which we'll get into very, very quickly or very soon. So Root, 23rd century for England, is second at Headingley off 123 deliveries. He ended up with... I've lost what did he get in the end?
121 off 165 balls, 73.
That's the one.
Incredible.
Yeah, Bumrah got him from nowhere almost, didn't he? It was a bit of a surprise one when he did get him. But in between that, there was a couple of wickets as well. Bairstow and Butler both went. Bairstow put on 50 with Joe, but he batted pretty well, but he wasn't his fluid best, let's put it that way. And Butler came and went for 7, relatively, full on leg, flicking it up to Sharma, getting caught out. Breaking news, obviously, I'm sure people have seen it, but Butler will not be playing in the 4th Test match. His wife is expecting a second child, so he's going to be away from the team. He's not in the greatest of nick, in my opinion. We spoke about it before this test, but we asked the question whether or not there is the temptation to go with Bairstow with the gloves and maybe bring in a Pope or a Lawrence. This is a great opportunity for Johnny Bairstow. He's played pretty well without going on and making a big score. He's got into those 30s, hasn't he? 29, 30s. I just wonder, I understand completely why Butler is stepping out at the moment, but this just feels a little bit dangerous for his England Test career.
Yeah.
And I just wonder if this might be a turning point where we go from seeing Jos Buttler, the Test keeper, to Jos Buttler, the white ball world leading player who keeps as well. And Johnny Bairstow potentially retrieves the gloves. Sam Billings is named as, he's not actually in the squad. He's in the squad, but he's not coming with the squad until the county championship game has been played. But he's the backup keeper. And I'm sure he'll just remain as backup keeper unless something dramatic happens. Those boys were gone. Then Rooty went. Ali went for 8 after an over after Root, basically, wasn't it? Caught sub. Yeah. And I do like the end of this scorecard because we start seeing caught sub. And that tells me that this Indian bowling attack and this Indian lineup in general was absolutely knackered.
Yeah.
And there was a few boys needing to go and put them feet up and get to have a little bit of a rest.
Yeah. Definitely. You look at it, Mohammad Shami, 28 overs, Bumrah, 27, Siraj, 23, Jadeja got through 32. I just thought it was a really effective innings by England. I was really impressed with Craig Overton as a whole in the Test match, not only his bowling, but his batting down the order, 32 off 42 balls. It's kind of what England have been hoping for down the order. And in my Twitter thread, which you can find at the Twitter page, Leading Eggs Pod, said that this England tail, 8 to 11, is having the worst year we've had since the year 2000. I say the year 2000 because that's when I started looking at records from. So potentially it could be even longer. But we've generally managed to get ourselves out of trouble many a time over the years. And we haven't been able to do it this year, but we definitely have. But I think we should roll back slightly to give a little bit more praise to Joe Root on what was his third fastest Test match century. He just looks like he's playing on a completely different pitch against completely different bowlers and just looks so in tune with his game and what he's doing. Nothing phases him. Everything looks like a scoring opportunity and a gap. It's quite incredible, Rich.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's the pace that he's scoring at for me as well. He's obviously looking incredible. He's looking like he's got so much time at the crease. The amount of times you see it, like we spoke about before, the way he cuts at the moment, the way he plays through the offside with a slightly shorter ball, he just looks like he's trying to put it exactly where he wants it to go. Yeah. And he's executing it. 121 off 165 deliveries, strike rate of 73. It's just exceptional. He's arguably, I mean, Williamson's not been playing much at the moment, but he's arguably probably the most informed player in world cricket at the moment.
Totally. I don't think you can argue with it, mate. He's having I think in the poster pot, I've created a category of statistical analysis, which is average above average, which is your average that you score for your country above the Test match average or above the team average that the top 7 have put on. Ian Bell has the greatest record since 2000. He averaged 2011. He scored those 3 Ashes centuries, I think it was, or it might have been 2013. He scored those scud runs in Sri Lanka, averaged 80 or 90 above the team average. Joe Root's averaging is basically putting on the second best year that an England batsman has done since the year 2000. 6 centuries in a calendar year. Only 4 captains have ever. 4 players have ever scored more: Ponting, De Silva, Richards, and Mohamed Yusuf. It's just a ridiculous amount of names to be associated with. And again, talking to the confidence of the player, he played at 90% of the deliveries bowled at him, and that's the second highest percentage of anyone that scored over 50 runs in England since 2006. That's someone that's just like, it's a net for me, mate. Like I'm just that's so crazy. In. There's nothing you can do. And you look at the Indian bowling attack. Axar Patel averages 18 against him. Probably should think about bowling him. Bumrah 31, Ashwin 72, Jadeja 78, Sharma 121, Shami 133, Siraj 153. They don't know how to bowl to him, and they've not known how to bowl to him for many years now. And he's cashing in his chips, mate. He's had a rough couple of years, hard times as captain with a team that's inconsistent, and he's just next level gravy. He could break Michael Vaughan and Dennis Compton's record of 6 centuries in a test calendar year for England.
Yes.
He could even rival Mohammed Yusuf's incredible 9 from where I felt like I just watched him battle day. Mohammed Yusuf's 9 came from 11 test matches as well. That's a ridiculous record, but he's up there. He could set the most amount of runs scored in a test calendar year. It's a brilliant year.
Yeah. Hopefully it will continue from our point of view anyway. And I'm sure the cricketing public as a whole would happily see Joe Root, caressing the ball around the outfield, the oval as well. It just rapid outfield there, isn't it? So we're going to see some crunches there. What India do, I'm sure we'll get into that shortly. Nice to see this Indian bowling attack. None of them went for centuries. It's always good for the confidence if you've not gone for three figures. It was just Joe Root today.
Yeah,
that's all it was. So England went 354 lead. There's still a problem with England cricket fans, and ourselves, I'm sure, included, where you're going, well, if they get 500, so I'm going to be nervous.
You're allowed to think like that because we're a pessimistic nation, and we've been given no reason to believe that we can finish off a test match.
Yeah, I am well aware. I was speaking to one of my guys I play cricket with on Saturday night, and he was saying that when India were bowled out for 78, he put a 5 on India to win this test match. That is the mentality, and it's not a wrong mentality. That is absolutely our mentality as England cricket fans, that no matter what happens, there is still and if India could have, and we'll get into it now, India batted well in the second innings. They started very, very well, and it was only on... Yeah, the innings got off to a really good start. Was it 215 for 2 as we started day 4? Pujara and Kohli going pretty well. Sharma had got himself 50, 59, and Rahul had gone early again. Question marks over Rahul now, not Pujara, perhaps. It could be both. But we still worry. This is how much we rate this Indian side. And also that we have a worry about this England side as well. I wouldn't have fancied watching England chase 120, 130 on the final day of this test match. I would have been hiding behind the pillow. Yeah. So it was good, really, obviously, what England did do with the ball. And I thought England bowled fantastically well in the second innings. I saw Virat Kohli was talking and saying about how well England bowled in the first innings, but it was also Indian players didn't pick the shots particularly well. Yeah, I'm paraphrasing here. He didn't say this word for word, but he spoke about that. But he spoke also to say that England probably bowled better in the second innings. Yet India scored an additional 200 runs.
Different pitch, different conditions. First innings, there was over 2 degrees of swing. Let's call it degrees. That's the right word. India only extracted about 1, and England got about 1.1 in the second innings. So there was a huge gulf between bowling in the first innings and how helpful and friendly it was to English conditions as opposed to bowling in the second. The thing for me that when I watch Test cricket, it is a battle of attrition and technique, and you've got to stick it. And for years watching England play cricket, and you relate to this, we saw a lot of good 50s, but we never saw many hundreds. And I'm rolling back the years here into the 90s and seeing someone grit away and score 50. Graham Thorpe hardly scored a century for the first 40, 50 test matches he played in, but he made these amazing half centuries. And I think India may look at this and go, Sharma got in, Pujara got in, Kohli got in, and none of them went on. And I'm not saying it's easy, but Joe Root went on and scored a decent load of runs. And you've got to say that's, again, other than England's bowling, but between the batsmen, Joe Root, again, is the difference. And India will kick themselves, but it's the credit to the England bowlers. The word that goes down my screen on my day-by-day analysis when I'm looking at England bowlers individually, everyone except Sam Curran, is control. Control. And it's brilliant because it builds pressure. And I thought India batted better this innings and rotated the strike better. but it's the control. And what do people want? Hamid and Burns potentially could bat, I feel, just could keep batting and rotating the strike and just be happy because it's easy to go in at 2s and 3s. Some of these India players, take Pujara out of that equation, who someone's got a huge stickability, feel like they need to go a little faster, potentially.
Yeah, they need to see boundaries, don't they?
And the natural game is to go faster. Yeah. But I feel England really reined it in superbly, especially how farcical the second test match was with that emotional decision to try and take people's heads off. It's just really good. And if you're an England cricket fan and you've seen Craig Overton come back in and you've gone, he looks like a test cricketer now. You've got Ollie Robinson who's coming this year. You go, he looks like a test cricketer now. It's good. It feels good because we've not been used to it for a long time.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, see Overton come back in at 6 wickets on his return. I think he's 3 for 14. He's so far Test career best as well. Yeah. So it really was pleasing. India, it's a tricky one, isn't it? I thought Sharma played really well. He had a pretty good Test match. I know he only scored 19 in the first innings, but he tried his hardest, didn't he? Rahul went. I mean, it was 18 overs, wasn't it? Nearly 19 overs when India gave up the first wicket. Only 34 on the board. But it just. He's a tricky one for me because he played really well previous to this test. I'm coming in obviously for an injured Agarwal, but he's just, I don't know, he's just not quite having the run at the moment, is he? I mean, this was the catch, wasn't it? This was the catch. This was the Johnny Bairstow dive into his left one-handed grab. Yeah. I mean, that's different gravy. You know, when as a batsman, you're struggling a little bit is when players start snaffling one-handed catches off you. It's just like, this is not my time. This is not for me. So it wouldn't surprise me if we see a change at the top of the order for India.
A little bit harsh, because he has scored.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't
feel he's the favourite son that they want in that position. He earned the right to have a few more tests.
Yes, absolutely. And that's the thing, isn't it? He wasn't supposed to start this series. I think it would have been Agarwal over the batting. Yeah, he's fit now. He came on as sub, didn't he? He took a catch in England at the end of the England innings. So he's there waiting. I think it's just one bad test match, and that's what Rahul's had. One bad test match, and I think they'll be looking to make a change because they have to come back now. If England win the next test, it's drawn series at best, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's all about the fourth test. It's, we can't look ahead at the fifth test and think, we'll give Rahul one more. It might well be that they just pull the plug now. Sharma went as well, didn't he? 59 LBW for Robinson. Just missed a straight one, but full and angling in. I think it's the best way to say that one.
Yeah.
And like we said then, it was 215 for 2 overnight, but only 139 runs behind. 8 wickets in hand going into the fourth day. 139 runs behind. 8 wickets in hand. I'm going to say it again. India could and possibly should have gone on and made England bat again and made things very, very difficult and nervous. Pujara ended up with 91, Kohli 55. Neither of them added many the following day, did they?
Yeah.
It's just a collapse from there. You go down the scorecard. There's only Jadeja that got himself a half-decent score after Pujara and Kohli. He got 30 off 25, but the game was nearly gone at that point.
Yeah, it was. It's what you would expect from England, mate. Let's be honest. This India team has done exactly what we would have expected England to do in that position if they were chasing 150. They went from 237 for 4 when Kohli went to 278 all out. And it was a procession, and it was great bowling. It was great catching and just a great presence around the pitch from this England team. It really felt united on what they're trying to achieve, and I appreciated watching just the energy levels with the bat throughout the game, the energy levels with the ball, the energy levels in the field. Everything was positive.
Yeah, definitely. Pujara, I've just got to give a little mention to Pujara. 91 of 180 ball, 189 deliveries, 15 boundaries. I felt for him. He's left one, hasn't he? And it's not jagged back a lot. He's come back a little bit. But, he's left one and given not out, but on review, he's given. It was smacking into off stump, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was a big moment. That really was a big moment. Obviously, he was the first wicket with the new ball that England took on the morning. Kohli's gone again. 50. That's one of. Is that his first 50 in an innings? For I can't remember. I'm sure we spoke about it in last session. I can't think how many innings he's been in, but it's been a long, long time coming for Virat. So it was pleasing to see that. But at that point again, you think that he's going to go on and guide this Indian batting lineup through. But obviously, Rooty gets a catch off Robinson, and then we're into them. Rahane 10. Pant decides he's going to start tracking around again. He lasts 7 balls and he's gone for 1. Mohamed Shami's only gone for 6 before Moeen Ali bowled him an absolute snorter.
That was a cracker. That was a Graham Swan delivery.
Beauty. Moeen Ali, there's just a moment with him as a bowler. 2 overs for, I think, was it for 2 runs in the first innings?
Yeah.
It was very strange that he even got given 2 overs, to be honest with you. But he did come back and he's bowled himself 14 overs, 1 for 40. So not particularly, it wouldn't be a test match you're going to write home about, but that single delivery just made it all the worthwhile that he was playing in this team. Sharma went for 2. Robinson got him caught behind, and Overton wrapped things up with getting a catch of Bairstow off Overton. Jadeja went, didn't he? Overton got him as well. So it was a really, really good all-round display from England. Seamers all cashing in, all getting wickets. It's funny how Jimmy doesn't seem to be able to get his wickets in the second innings at the moment.
Yeah,
very much at the top of the game, isn't he? Getting cracking on. But it ended at 278 all out, 99.3 overs India batted. So it was a much, much better performance. It was done before the first hour. Drinks had not even been taken on the 4th day, Rob. An hour and 43. Sorry, it wasn't quite lunch, should I say. It was 12:43, wasn't it, when play ended. 215 for 3, 278 all out in 1.5 hours.
Just wonderful, mate. Just a great feeling as an English cricket fan, right?
Exactly. This is England cricket fans. Unbelievable performance, unbelievable comeback after not really having the rub of the green, perhaps, in India's top of India's second innings. We're delighted. This hand, 215 for 3 to 278 all out in an hour and a half.
It's England-esque, and everything I said. The teams that have had these huge collapses over the last couple of years has been England, predominantly England by an absolute margin, 5 times bowled out for less than 100 in the last 4 years. West Indies 3, Bangladesh and India both 2. India have the ability to just go and get rolled. It doesn't make them unique. It doesn't make them poor. It just makes them what they are. They're an exceptionally talented team, but they are susceptible. And every team in Test cricket, when they play away from home, that crazy stuff happens. England in India, getting rolled for about 3 in Ahmedabad, time and time again, and not being able to. Axar Patel can't get a game. He took about 700 wickets in India, LBW and bowled the whole time with the new ball, and he can't bowl over it.
He was kryptonite for England, wasn't he, over the winter? It's baffling. I mean, if he was anywhere near an English passport, he would be in this England team. It's quite as simple as that, isn't it? So it's a tough one for India to take, isn't it? Arguably that the collapse was nearly as bad as the first innings. This second innings collapse was nearly as bad as the first innings, and there are going to be some serious questions. It will be interesting to see how it goes. Just want to talk about the man of match performance from Robinson. 5 for 65 off 26 overs in the second innings, added to his 2 for 16 off 10. That's 7 for 81 off 36 overs, 9 maidens in the game, 11.57 average and a 2.25 economy rate. He's a test bowler. There's no question anymore. Start of this summer, county cricket, it was him and Overton rattling through everybody, wasn't it? Taking wickets left, right and centre. The thing that amazes me with Robinson so much is how many 10-wicket matches he's had. Obviously not in this game, but again, 7 wickets in this one. He's a player that he can take wickets, and he can take wickets in clumps as well, can't he? Yeah. And it's so important that if he gets on a run and if he gets that rhythm going, he's just a dangerous player.
Well, look at the Pujara wicket. Pujara's on 91, and he gets one to come back into him that he just shoulders and arms.
Yeah.
90. Who does that? You've got to be a seriously talented bowler when someone's on 91 to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are level, Rob. We are 1-1. We spoke about it before. The Oval comes next. It comes quick and just around the corner, quick and fast is the next test match. They've got to be ready for this. India are in a dangerous position. Yeah. England only recovered for this, in my opinion, because we had the week off, because they could take stock and go away and just think. Everybody calm themselves down. India don't have that luxury now. We're on Monday. The test starts on Thursday. We are straight back into a test week, aren't we? So England, first and foremost, the squad has been announced. So the only changes is Butler is out for the reasons we gave earlier. Sam Billings comes in as cover. Saqib Mahmood is dropped from the squad. I don't want to say dropped, but he's removed from the squad because we have had the return of Chris Wokes. He's proved his fitness in, I think he played a second 11 game, and then he also has played a T20 game. I was wondering, and I was speaking to a Warwickshire fan, Chris, who used to pop on the podcast occasionally. He was quite hoping that he would slip under the England radar and go and play some county cricket for a week. I wonder if that might have been a better call, in all honesty. Warwickshire are playing this week. It would have probably benefited him to go and play a 4-dayer. But
I don't know, mate. I don't know. I think they might be worried about Jimmy's workload, eh?
Absolutely. You've absolutely nicked the point, mate. Definitely. And I think that's probably why they've snuck him in. I think we might see. I don't think they'll rest Robinson yet, because Robinson has had a bit of rest during the middle parts, but I think Jimmy might be looking for a rest at this point, and then get him back in at his home ground, Old Trafford, bowling from the Jimmy Anderson end, which I still find bizarre. Wait until he's retired, lads. And I think that's probably how they'll shake things around. So he's back in the squad. There's no place again for Jack Leach. So Moeen Ali obviously is going to be the spinner. And I think that's it. I think that's the only changes, isn't it, for England?
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy with those changes. Happy to see Chris Wokes back. He has been class for England over the last few years. He's really turned himself around. Just looking here at his bowling averages the last 3 years. 2018 averaged 28 with the ball. 2019 averaged 23. 2020 averaged 21. In home conditions, he's got 87 wickets at an average of 22, mate. It's class.
Yeah.
It's class. He is a genuinely good English-style bowler. If you look at his split from home and away, it's quite incredible. He averages 22 at home, 51 with the ball away. So if you're going to play him, it's going to be at home, and he can score runs. We all remember that century that he made at Lord's a few years back. He's a solid Test cricketer. Great call to be back in the team.
Absolutely. So let's just have a quick look at this team. Are we happy? Do we want to have a look ahead now, or do you want to do this separately?
Yep. We'll have a brief look, and if what changes, what the teams are going to be.
So for me, there's two questions, isn't it? One, I think Wokes, the fact that they've picked Wokes, I think he's coming back in the team. It's also notable that Wood is bowling without any pain again. He had a bowl on the 4th day, apparently, at lunch. And he's looking like he should be fit for the next test as well.
Yeah.
So first off with the bowling, I think we've got, it's going to be the 4 seamers again, 8, 9, 10, 11, isn't it? You've got Ali coming in at 7. Johnny Bairstow will take the gloves. I assume he'll bat at 6. So there is a question at 5, which we'll get to in one moment. But I wonder if they rest Jimmy and bring Wokes in. I wonder if Wood might come in for Curran. And then you could see, because obviously we've spoken about before how obsessed this England setup have been for years now about having bowlers that can bat. This would be arguably the best 4 batting bowlers. Wokes would go in at 8, and then you could bat any of Wood, Overton, and Robinson at 9.
Yeah.
Your 11 would be one of the best 11s we've had in years.
Yeah.
And I just wonder if that makeup is interesting to me. Obviously, you don't have the left armour, but you bring Wood in with the extra pace. So we have that little bit of difference there. So I would be interested to see if they go in with that 4. It might be that they leave Wood till the 5th test along with Jimmy, but I would like to see that. Curran bowled all right, but he's still not doing quite enough for me. So that's where I'd go with the bowling. And then there's a question of, is it Pope or Lawrence are the 2 options at 5, Rob? So give me your thoughts on 5, and then also let's come back onto that bowling in a second and tell me how you would make up your 4 for the 4th test.
I think Pope comes in over
Lawrence.
I
would prefer that.
They want to see him again. Oval's a good batting place.
Home deck.
So he's got to come into that lineup. I think Moeen Ali is your spinner again. There's no two questions around that. Interesting enough. The Oval, I was about to call it the Kensington Oval. The Oval, as a spinner, is the best venue in the UK for a spinner. A Test match ground, averaged 26 with the ball over the last 5 years. Spin bowlers at the Oval. Likewise, the seamers averaged 31, which is the worst across any of the grounds in the last 5 years. So if you're going to rest Jimmy, it is this one. Yeah, I feel they need to get Wood into this lineup, given that it's a poor place for pace bowlers at a general to bowl at. you need something that's going to be a little bit different, and you don't want to run Jimmy into the ground at that location.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's sensible. I think it's really sensible. And like I said, because of the locations of the tests, if this was an Old Trafford test match, I think Jimmy plays. Yeah. I think you wouldn't be able to. He'd be running on the field like, what's his name? Jarvo 69. Jimmy would be running on the field without if he was dropped at Old Trafford. He'd still think he can play. Yeah. So there's no way in the world that he's not going to be playing on the fifth test. So the only time we have to rest him in a test match is this upcoming one. So he has to be rested. He's not going to be rested when we hit Australia, is he? So that makes sense to me. I like the sound of Wood coming in, and I just think Wokes gives you the Anderson replacement, and then I'd like to see Wood in for Curran, and then you've got Robinson and Overton. Overton deserves another opportunity, I think, over. And that's probably the question. It's really Overton or Curran, isn't it? And personally, six wickets in the game, and he's useful runs down the order as well. Yeah. So absolutely, that's my lineup. I agree with you. Ollie Pope in at 5, and I think he needs to take this opportunity. We spoke about him being very Bell-like in technique. He's also very Bell-like in the early times of his Test career. Yeah. In and out. He didn't establish himself for quite a number of years, Ian Bell, but they kept persevering. But he needs to do more. Bell had done more at this point, I'm sure. Yeah. Totally guessing, might be completely wrong. But Pope needs to take this opportunity. Lawrence is a question, perhaps, but I would definitely go with Pope. Much better prospect, in my opinion, in the Test side. What about India then? Just first thoughts. What do we think?
My big change, I'm not saying this is going to happen, is Ashwin needs to come into this lineup.
100% agree.
Got to.
We've been saying that for a while.
India are going to play 2 spinners. It is going to be in this Test match. Spin bowlers at the Oval, 34 wickets in the last 5 years at 26 is exceptional. At Old Trafford, the average 38. So if they're going to play 2 spinners, it's going to be now. If they go with 1 spinner, Jadeja gets dropped for me.
Yeah, because I think Ashwin's got to come in.
He's the best spinner. He's got longevity. His record in England is superb. 18 wickets in average of 28 from 7 tests. Jadeja, before this last test, was 9 test matches, 19 wickets at 47. He gives them depth with the batting, which I do feel is one of their things like England, but go into a predominantly a batting track, in English batting paradise at the Oval. I feel you've got to play your best spinner.
Yeah. I think Ashwin for Jadeja. And again, it's like we said before the last test. It's not that Jadeja's done anything horrific. He's a really good player and he's played pretty well. But I just think it's time. If you've got Jadeja and Ashwin in the squad that are relatively similar players in the fact that where they would bat and the fact that what they offer to the team, Ashwin, it's time to give him a couple of test matches. So I think that's a change. You've got your 4 seamers at the moment. I think there is a chance that they perhaps do look at a spinner. Perhaps it's Ishant Sharma that sits out.
I think Sharma's got to go, and I think probably Shardul Thakur's got to be the guy that comes in.
Yeah, if they go, absolutely. Sorry, go on, carry on.
Yeah, if they go 2 spinners, Sharma out, Ashwin in. If they go with 1 spinner, Jadeja out, and then you've got to look at Shardul Thakur being the guy that comes in. Decent record, 11 wickets overseas at an average of 21. Played in England before, got 4 wickets at an average of 19. He's good. He fits the mould to bowl in England. Yeah, but I feel like you're going to see 2 spinners.
Do you think there's a chance that Ashwin comes in for Jadeja and then Axel Patel could come in as a second spinner if it warrants that?
I don't think Jadeja's bowled bad enough for them to want to do that. Not quite bad enough, but also I still think they value his runs down the order a lot. Yeah. And if they've got Ashwin, who is a good batsman, and Jadeja coming in around that 6, 7, 8 sort of mark, that's quite a good tale.
What about the batting then? So let's say there's question marks. Rahul's played pretty well, but he's had a bad test in the last test match. Rahane always seems to be the man that's under the microscope.
Yeah.
Has Pujara done enough? That's the first question, I suppose. At the number 3 spot, has Pujara done enough in the last test? Yeah,
I can't see them changing Pujara. And
not
I think
after 91.
He scored runs when everyone else has really struggled, other than Rohit Sharma, who's having the second best run in Test cricket this year. He's having a phenomenal season. It's kind of going under the radar because of Joe Root. So Pujara stays.
So
does KL Rahul get another go? Yes, but I haven't got the same emotional attachment to India cricket than a lot of the listeners do, who will be going, well, he's not been good enough for a long time. I don't see him all the time. I just see the guy that's gone out, scored a ton and got a 50 in this series and done all right for himself. So to me, he's going to stay. That doesn't mean he is.
Yeah, absolutely. So Agarwal's the man that could come in if Rahul is just, if they do decide to make that change at the top of the order, you would assume. Yes. There's obviously Prithvi Shaw as well is in the squad, isn't he? So he's somebody that they may consider. What about the number 5 spot? It's a tough one for me. There's Surya Kumar Yadav, isn't there? Is that the spot he would potentially be dropped into? Would he be the Rahane replacement? You've got Vihari as well, haven't you, in the squad?
Yeah, I quite like Vihari.
He's got
I expected him to do really well in Test cricket county cricket when he came over, and he didn't really kick on. Now Yadav's a little different. He's only played 4 Test matches. He is averaging 46. He's got 2 50s to his name. Those games have been played in Sri Lanka. I think it's a really hard ask to get someone to come in, and I know it's at the Oval, and I keep saying that because it's important, because it's an easier batting condition. It's not quite as English as some of the other northern places that you've gone and played in, but it is a big difference. And I feel like Vihari's experience of playing county cricket, played in England before, played in New Zealand, not done very well in either of them, but he's played there, he's got experience. I think he's the guy, if you do make a change, he comes in. Yeah,
that's fair enough. Yeah, that's the point I was going to make, actually, just as you started, was he obviously has county experience, doesn't he, Vihari? Yeah. And he played, I think on the last tour, he played some Test matches, didn't he, as well?
He did.
So yeah, that could be an interesting one. So there's lots of changes there. I mean, we're more certain, obviously, on the England side, because that's what we follow all the time. This Indian side, we understand Agarwal would have probably played the first Test, so we understand that he would more likely come in if they decide to make that change at the top of the order. But it's going to be really interesting who they decide to go down the order at number 5, and obviously the makeup of that bowling attack. So I'm sure you'll be happy for me to ask. Let us know. Please let us know. In the comments, whether it's in YouTube or tweeters, let us know what you think the makeup of this team might be. I'm really, really interested to see what people are saying should be the makeup of those 4 bowlers. 5, if you want to include the Jadeja, Ashwin axis. Like I say, the number 2 opener and also number 5. It's and also any other changes, any more dramatic changes. Does Kohli get dropped? I'm only joking. Of course, he's not going to get dropped.
You never know, mate.
Virat is the boss.
Twitter is going a bit nuts about Kohli, and there is a few people calling him out. And Sunil Gavaskar has come back and said Kohli's still good. It's just shot selection is the problem. He's getting a little bit loose in his technique, and he does go hard at the ball, but he always has gone hard at the ball. But it's about football. It's about making the right pass at the right time. Cricket, it's about playing the right shot to the right ball, and not quite there at the moment, but hopefully we get to see Kohli come back strong in one of these Test matches. But as an English supporter, it's quite nice keeping him quiet, because he is such the heartbeat of that team. If you can keep him quiet, you generally keeping this batting lineup down a little bit.
Yeah. It is slightly worrying, though, from an England perspective. This might sound a bit bizarre to any of you Indian cricket fans, but it's slightly bizarre for us. The longer Kohli goes without a big score, the more worrying it gets for us.
It's coming.
Using the old waiting for a bus scenario, isn't it? The longer you wait, the sooner it's coming. He's gonna make a score. You would expect. If he doesn't, we've got away with one this series. It's simple as that. So I'm sure he'll come back. But I'd like to see a cut-up of all of his dismissals, because I'd imagine there's a few repeated shots and there's a few repeated how outs. So he needs to knuckle down a little bit. Really interested to see the makeup of this Indian side as we go into the 4th Test. What else have you got for us, Rob?
Predictions, mate.
Oh my goodness. Predictions.
We've got to call it. So it was difficult after the 2nd Test because England got smashed, and we both called England coming back to win, and we got hounded in some of the comments about that. England have won. It's the beauty of Test cricket. It's the beauty of a 5 Test match series. This is blockbuster stuff.
Yep.
Oval cricket. I'm just going to put this out there before you give me a decision.
Mm-hmm.
England have played at the Oval 3 times in the last 5 years or 4 years, 5 years, 4 years.
Okay.
Played 3, won 3. Beat Australia, beat India, beat South Africa. They average 36 with the bat. They score at 3.5 runs and over, and they haven't scored below 294 in an innings. Okay. I'm going for an England win. We're good at the Oval.
I think I'm going to have to as well. And it's not, I don't want to see it as like a home bias or anything, but I have a belief in the England setup. I might be critical of certain aspects of how they do things, whether it be selection or, I'm not against the fact that they give players one test too many rather than one not enough. I don't want to go back to those dark days of chopping and changing. So there are parts that frustrate me, but there's also a resiliency around this England cricket team. And whilst Joe Root is batting like the best batsman in the world at the moment, sorry, Kane, sorry, Smithy, sorry, Virat, he just is.
Yeah,
I think there's enough there. I think the top 3 look better. I'm not saying they're guaranteed to score runs. We spoke about them before the last test. They have to score runs, and they did.
Yeah,
we need to see that again. Pope's coming back in. He has to contribute.
Yeah, he does.
And I think he will. He scored some big runs for Surrey. He's one of those players that will have a run of 20 odds, but then he's got a 200 in him. He's such a talented boy. I'm not saying he's maybe got that at test level yet, but he's got a big score in him.
Yeah,
so I feel it. And I think a freshened England bowling attack as well. I think Wokes, as long as he's not got too much rust accumulation, and Wood's fit and ready to go, I like the bowling attack.
Yeah.
And I'm really interested to see Johnny Bairstow, because Johnny Bairstow's got himself back in this team as a batsman, and he's got a few scores, but he now needs to go on. So there's a number of England batsmen that are at that point where they not necessarily under pressure to score runs, but they've been in long enough now that they need to score some runs.
Yeah.
And I just wonder, I wonder if India will make a few changes. I think if they don't make any changes, I think that's a mistake, because I think the team needs to be freshened up a little bit.
Yeah.
But I just wonder if they might go maybe like 3 changes, and it might just take them a bit of time to get into the test match. And as we saw in this one, if you're not into the test match on morning day one, you could be out of the test match. And I just wonder if that might be I'm not saying that's what's going to happen again, but I just feel like England have got a little bit, they've got enough. Yeah. They've got enough to overcome.
No, that's good, mate. And we do have superstar Johnny Bairstow. Johnny Bairstow, without the gloves, averages 27. Bairstow with the glove averages almost 38, 5 centuries, 15 50s. That's the player that went and scored 1,600 runs in a calendar year back in 2016. Yeah. That's the Johnny Bairstow we're hoping we're going to see.
It'll be funny and interesting waiting to see if suddenly he gets the gloves. It's like Clark Kent to Superman, isn't it? He's just going, I've got the gloves, I've got the cape. Watch me go. Yeah.
I like it.
Bizarre stats. Yeah.
So that's going to start on Thursday. Can't wait for it to start, guys. Make sure you comment below. Let us know what you think the result is going to be.
Yes, please.
And what we should be looking out for from this Indian team. Have they got bounce back ability, would say Michael Vaughan. We're soon going to find out. But thank you so much for listening, guys. Make sure you subscribe if you're listening anywhere else other than YouTube. You can catch our pretty little faces. Follow us on Twitter at Leading Edge Pods. We are going to see you guys next time.